This video will show you how to replace the rear brakes on a Mitsubishi Outlander. This will be located behind your rear wheel. Let's get into it. Now that we have the wheel out of the way, we have a clear view of our rear brakes. We're going to have to remove the caliper. To do that, let's make our way along the back side. As we make our way looking along the back side of the caliper, we're going to remove our two caliper slider mounting bolts first. I'm using a 14mm for each of these. I'll start up along the top, fully remove the first bolt, but then start it back in a couple threads. That'll prevent this from falling while we continue on. Both of these bolts look the same. You do not need to worry about mixing them up. Now we're going to carefully pull the caliper out and away. You may find that you have to carefully pry. While doing so, just be extremely careful not to cause any damage. Now that I have that lifted up and away, we want to pay attention to our caliper. We're going to push back our caliper piston next and thoroughly inspect for any fluid leaks. If you are looking closely at this type of caliper piston, you can see that there's two small slots. For this particular type of piston, you have to carefully twist while pressing in. Now I've seen this done with some long nose pliers. You can do it while pressing and twist, or you can continue on with a specialty tool. So I have my tool. It has two small ears that slide into those slots on the caliper piston itself. Now at this point, I'm going to start turning the driver and we're watching the piston go in. Just regroup here with our tool. Now at this point, I'm going to remove my tool. I'll just give this a quick inspection. Now once you feel as though you have it pressed in, we have to pay attention to those slots. The slots themselves need to be facing up and down, not side to side like what you see here. The reason for that is because if you were looking at the inboard pad, it does have this small tab directly in the center on the bottom. That needs to align with one of the slots. So at this point, I have to continue turning this until it's properly aligned, and we'll continue on. Now, as you can tell, I have this set perfectly, so it's straight up and down with the corresponding port up at the top. Now, after pressing it in, we're paying attention along the rubber boot. This is just a protective seal. If you see any fluid making its way out of here, that means the internal seal on the caliper is bad, and you need to replace the caliper. There's no fluid here, and the piston pushed back fine. Let's set this aside for now. Now it's time to remove our two brake pads. We have the inboard pad and the outboard pad. Typically you can slide these out of place by hand. They might be stuck in the bracket like these are here. I'm going to tap them out of place. There's our first pad. Now, as you know, it was stuck in place, but I always like to give them a quick inspection. If it looks like they're worn at an angle, it's either stuck in place like ours was, or you might have an issue with one of your two slider pins. Let's remove the outboard pad as well. Quick inspection of that one as well. With those out of place, let's remove the caliper bracket. You're going to find that you have two 14mm headed mounting bolts. Let's remove the pair. I'm starting along the top. I'll fully remove that bolt, a quick inspection, but started in a couple threads. That's going to prevent the bracket from falling while I continue on to the next. Just going to use a longer socket down here. Hold that bracket, remove the bolt. We'll remove the bracket. Now we will be cleaning and lubricating this. For now, we're going to set it aside. We're moving along to removing the brake rotor next. It's common for this to be stuck in place. If it is stuck in place, continue on with a spacer and one of your original lug nuts. We're just starting this on a couple threads here. Now I'm going to tap on the brake rotor, attempting to break it free. And now we can remove that brake rotor. There it is, friend. Now, before we install our brand new brake parts, the next thing we like to do is make sure we clean and inspect the mounting area. So we're looking at the wheel bearing hub flange. We're going to clean this down, removing any miscellaneous debris or raised areas. For this, you can use some sandpaper, you can use a wire brush, or you can use a light sanding disc. Now I've cleaned most of the flat areas here, but we do still have to clean in between our lug studs and the center circular area. For that, I'm just going to use my wire brush. Obviously, it's your vehicle. Clean it as well as you deem fit. Just make sure there's no raised areas so you don't get a brake pulsation. While we're still cleaning, I'm using my wire brush. I'm going to go along the back side of my wheel bearing, try to remove any miscellaneous debris from this area as well, so nothing falls inside of my brand new brakes. Now that I have this cleaned down, I'm just going to go ahead and give it a quick rinse using some parts cleaner. I have a collection receptacle under this area. We'll use some anti-seize for good measure, just right along this entire mating surface. Now it's time to install the brand new rear brake rotor. It's important to pay attention to the brake rotor braking surface. If you see any type of oils, remove it. This type of rotor does have a coating on it. We do not want to remove the coating, so I'm not using parts cleaner. We'll get this rotor in place and hold it there using a spacer and one of our original lug nuts, so it does not move around as we continue on. It's time to pay attention to our caliper bracket next. We're going to remove everything from it so we can clean it, re-lubricate, and then we're going to install new hardware. As far as the removal process of this, we're starting with the caliper brackets. I'm just using a small pry bar and I'm going to pry this out of place. Your brake pad kit came with new tins. We'll set this aside for recycling. Go ahead and remove both of them. After that, it's time for the two caliper slider pins. We'll take hold of the slider pin and carefully remove it from the bracket and the protective boot. Just a light twist, we'll pull that away. Now I'm just going to wipe this down. We're giving it a thorough inspection. We want to pay attention along the smooth shafted area. Confirm it's not rusted, rotted, or weak in any way. We're also paying attention up at this groove. Remove any miscellaneous debris from here as well. We'll set that aside on the corresponding side of the bracket as where we had removed it. Remove the next slider pin. Now as I clean that down, you see something a little different. This slider pin does have a vibration dampener at the end. It's important not to mix up the slider pins. This pin needs to go in the same corresponding port as where you had removed it. Of course, a quick wipe and a close inspection, and we can set that aside as well. We're moving along to our slider pin boots. Now we're going to have to work these out of the bracket. When doing so, just be extremely careful not to cause any damage, unless of course you do intend on replacing the boot. If it's stuck in place, you can use a small screwdriver as necessary. I'm going to flex the boot. I'm pressing down in this area, gently separating it. As I mentioned, I'm prying it out of position. Now that I have it removed, I'm going to clean it and thoroughly inspect it. For that, I'm just using a clean rag. Now, as far as that rag's concerned, I'm just giving it a twist at one of the corners, and I'm going to slide it all the way through that slider boot. Now I'm rolling the boot around. All I'm doing here is attempting to remove any miscellaneous grease or debris from inside of that boot. Of course, a thorough inspection to make sure it's soft and pliable, not torn, worn, or damaged. If it is, you need to replace it. This one looks fine, so I'm just going to do the same exact thing on the opposite side of the bracket. Now, continuing with the cleaning process of our caliper bracket, we're going to be paying attention along each side of the bracket where the bracket tins would be located. As you can see, I have a lot of rust buildup, and I need to remove it. For that, you can use some sandpaper, a sanding disc, or a wire brush, whatever's easiest for you. Just make sure there's no buildup, which could cause the pads to get stuck in the bracket. I'm just going to use my sanding disc here. All right. Same process for the other side of the bracket. Let's move along to our two caliper slider pin ports next. Now I have my caliper bracket inside of a collection receptacle. I'm going to be using parts cleaner. I'm spraying directly inside of each one of my two ports, and I'm going to be using a bore brush to remove any miscellaneous debris or pre-existing grease. When I spray in, it's possible fluid will come out. Just be aware of that. We'll give that a quick rinse and a thorough inspection. This one looks good. I'm going to repeat the process for the other side. This looks good. We'll let this dry. Now, once it's dried, it's time to start preparing the caliper for installation. So we're starting with our caliper bracket tin areas. I'm using high temperature lubricant along each side of the caliper bracket where I had cleaned. This is going to help prevent rust buildup. Your kit came with brand new tins. Line them up, press them on, and make sure they are secured. They should not fall out of place. Continuing with our high temperature lubricant, we're going to go inside of each one of our slider pin ports, and especially up along the very edge here where our slider pin boot would sit. Once you've done that, we'll use the boot for the corresponding side. Line it up, press it in, give it a twist. We're working in that lubricant. As far as the slider pins, lubricate the entire smooth shafted area all the way down to the tip and up where my fingers are here. We can see that small groove. That's where the boot would sit. It's important to have lubricant here. It helps keep moisture out. Now we're going to be sliding the pin into the original port as where we had removed it. As I mentioned, do not mix these up. We'll press it in, squeeze out any air, and just give it a gentle twist. Same process for the other slider pin port. As you can see, I'm confirming that this slider pin with the vibration dampener is going in the same original port as where I had removed it. I'm squeezing out any air and just giving it a gentle twist. Now at this point, we can get this over to the vehicle. Let's get our caliper bracketed in place. We're going to slide it over our brake rotor. Now once I have it in place, I'm continuing on with my 2 mounting bolts. I'm going to start them both in, we'll bottom them out, and then torque them to 48 foot-pounds. And my torque wrench. Double check to make sure that's secured in place. Now it's time to install our brake pads. In your brake pad kit, you're going to find that 2 of the brake pads have a wear indicator along the back side. You'll find one pad has it on one side, the other will be on the opposite. Install the pads in the proper positioning with the wear indicator in the same positioning as the original brake pad had. I have mine down along the bottom. Now when we slide these into position, they should easily press in. If you have to use a hammer or drive them into position with a different tool, you probably did not clean the bracket well enough and you need to do so. The brake pad should be able to move around fairly freely. The outboard pad does not have a wear indicator. Line it up, press it in, and it moves as it should. Now we're looking at our caliper. Add some high temperature lubricant along the piston area and along the backside of each of the 2 ears, essentially just in the areas that touch up against your brake pads. This is going to help with vibration dampening and noise reduction overall. Now let's get this in place. We're going to bring it over our brake pads, being aware of the pads themselves and our slider pins. After you have that rested in place, it's time for our 2 caliper slider pin bolts. Start them in, snug them up. The torque for those is 28 foot-pounds. My torque wrench. Double check to make sure that's secured in place as well. Now we can go ahead and remove our lug nut and our spacer from this area. One last quick inspection in this area. Let's reinstall our wheel. Now I've got the wheel back on the ground. I'm going to be torquing each one of my 21mm lug nuts to that 80 foot-pounds. Torqued. Okay friend, we showed you how to replace the brakes on one side of the vehicle. The process for one side is the exact same thing as the other. Now once you've completed that, you want to make sure you make your way inside the passenger compartment, pump up your brake pedal till it's nice and firm, and then take your vehicle for a road test. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.